The film starts with a scene where a woman's reality is underwater, showing her dual nature. Her alarm goes off and everything returns to normal, revealing that she was dreaming. She wakes up. Elisa Esposito, a mute woman with a quiet life, begins her morning routine. She runs a bath and puts some eggs in boiling water. While the eggs cook, she takes a bath. Later, Elisa packs her dinner and makes an extra plate for her neighbor and close friend, Giles. She gives him the food and sits with him for a while watching an old musical on TV. They both enjoy the dancing, and when she leaves, Elisa dances in the hallway on her way out. Outside the building, she runs into her landlord, who also runs a cinema theater in the building. Then she heads to the bus station to catch her ride to work. Elisa arrives at a top-secret government research facility for her night shift, where her coworker and best friend, Zelda, saves a spot for her to punch in her time card. The two women work as part of the cleaning staff until they reach a special secret lab with a pool. Fleming, the head of security, introduces Dr. Hofstadter, the scientist in charge of a new asset arriving in the lab. As Fleming talks about the importance of the asset, it arrives in a pressure tank with a government agent, Strickland. While the men from the facility coordinate with him, Elisa hears the creature inside the tank howling. She looks inside and touches the tank. This upsets Hofstadter, who then tells them to leave because the creature is agitated. The next day, Elisa and Giles go to his favorite restaurant to get key lime pie. Giles chats with the bartender, hoping he might have a chance with him in the future. Later, Elisa and Giles are eating the pie at his place, and it's clear that the pie is terrible. Giles only goes to that restaurant to see the bartender. That night, Elisa and Zelda are cleaning the washroom when Strickland comes in. He washes his hands before using the toilet, and continues to use it while the women are still there. Elisa wants to move the cattle prod he left on the counter, but Strickland tells her not to touch it and explains how dangerous it is. He then introduces himself and explains why he doesn't wash his hands after using the toilet, which shows a lot about his character. Before he leaves, Strickland greets the women kindly, seeming to show some interest in Elisa. Zelda already dislikes him. Later, while taking out the garbage, Elisa and Zelda hear the lab door open and see Strickland come out, bleeding. Scientists and some military personnel rush to help him and contain the asset while Zelda pulls Elisa away. When they are having dinner and talking about what they saw, Fleming comes to get them to clean the lab. When they arrive, the lab is a mess with blood, but they start cleaning. Elisa finds Strickland's severed fingers and puts them in a paper bag while Zelda goes to get Fleming. Elisa then finally gets to see the amphibian man they are keeping in the lab. Zelda returns with Fleming, and Elisa gives him the paper bag with the body parts. The following morning, Elisa tells Giles everything about what happened, but he doesn't believe her about the creature. He shows her the latest ad he had painted, which he needs to take to his former boss in hopes of getting paid or getting his old job back. When Giles meets with his boss, he is told that some details need to be repainted per the client's instructions. The boss also mentions that he'll see what he can do about Giles's job. That night, Elisa goes to work and heads immediately to the lab to see the creature again. She hears it in the pool and figures out a way to get it to come out. Elisa cracks an egg, and the creature appears above the water. She lures it closer, and it slowly emerges to take the egg. When she tries to hand it over, the amphibian man freaks out, so she puts it down and gestures the word in sign language. He calms down, takes the egg, and abruptly jumps back into the water. Zelda catches Elisa coming out of the lab and tells her that Strickland wants to see them both in his office. In the next scene, the women are already there, having a long and awkward conversation with Strickland. He wants to know more about them, especially Elisa. Strickland reads in her file that she was left orphaned as a baby, and Zelda adds that Elisa was found by the river in the water. Strickland thanks Elisa for finding his fingers, prompting her to return his wedding band as he explains the surgery in which doctors stitched his fingers back. He realizes that she's mute but not deaf, so he asks if the scars on her neck are the reason she can't talk. Elisa doesn't think so because she has been unable to speak since she was a child. Before they leave, Strickland tells them to stay away from the creature in the lab, which he brought from South America to the US. He warns them that although the creature may look similar to a human, it is still a monster. The women leave when Strickland receives a phone call from a general, informing him that he will be visiting the facility soon. Meanwhile, the creature reminisces about Elisa, repeating the sign for an egg. That night, Elisa waits for the scientist to leave the lab, then takes out a record player from her cart and places it next to the pool. She plays music for the amphibian man, and serves him a single egg while she takes a bite from her sandwich. He takes the egg without surfacing, so she pauses the music to make him come out and join her. The amphibian man pokes his head out, grunting, and Elisa unpauses the record. She teaches him the sign for music, and he learns it quickly, enjoying the music and their time together. Their dates continue over the following nights, with boiled eggs and music, eventually leading to dancing. One night Hofstetler walks in on them while bringing the creature its dinner but doesn't interrupt them. Realizing the significance of what he's seen, he contacts his real bosses and meets them at a separate location. After sharing the password with security, he's taken to meet with the main Soviet agent. Hofstetler provides all his notes on the creature, and a blueprint of the lab to plan its extraction. He insists on moving forward with the extraction sooner because he believes the creature is an intelligent being capable of communication. The agent promises to relay this to their superiors. Elisa returns to work, taking care of the facility's laundry, where she learns how to disable the security camera if necessary. Later, she covertly enters the lab and finds the creature chained up and badly wounded. Elisa wants to help him but hears Strickland coming back and promptly hides in the lab. The amphibian man screeches as Strickland enters, taunting and torturing him with a cattle prod, disturbing Elisa as well. The general arrives at the lab and is immediately stunned by the creature's size and appearance. Strickland tells him that the native tribes in the Amazon worship the amphibian man as a god. Both Strickland and the general question whether he looks like much of a god when Hofstetler checks him and asks why he's bleeding. The scientist explains that the creature can alternate between two entirely separate breathing mechanisms, making it a very special and unique organism that could aid future scientific progress. The general and Strickland make fun of both the creature and Hofstetler. When Hofstetler notices Elisa in the lab, he realizes that the amphibian man is having difficulty breathing since he's been out of the water for too long and pleads with Strickland to get him back in. However, Strickland continues with his presentation, telling the general that they need to vivisect the creature if they really want to learn more about it. Hofstetler disagrees, and when the creature passes out, he orders the men to take it to the pressure tank, then leaves with Strickland and the general to discuss the next steps regarding the acid. Elisa overhears and frantically follows them back to Strickland's office, where she learns that the creature will be killed and dissected. Later, Elisa tries to enlist Giles's help to get the creature out of the facility. However, he refuses, fearing that they'll be breaking the law. Elisa finally admits her love for the amphibian man, who she believes sees her as a person with no deficiencies. Even after her heartfelt plea, Giles remains unconvinced, arguing that the creature isn't even human, and he leaves the apartment in a hurry. Elisa chases after him, signing that if they don't help, they won't be human anymore. Giles ignores her plea again. In the next scene, Giles meets with his boss, who informs him that the corrections aren't even necessary because the client chose a different direction. The boss also says that Giles will never be hired back. Meanwhile, Hofstetler meets with his Soviet contacts to inform them that the creature will be vivisected. His boss gives him two options: delay the procedure, which is impossible, or use a tool to cut the power in the facility, which would give him enough time to kill the creature himself. Hofstetler dislikes both options because his primary commitment is to science, not political motives. However, his boss insists he has no other choice. Simultaneously, Strickland buys an expensive car in a color he hates simply because the salesman says it's the latest trend. That night, while Hofstetler tends to the amphibian man, Elisa stakes out the lab and its exits to figure out a way to get the creature out. Zelda catches a glimpse of her planning something. Giles prepares his van to look like one of the laundry vans that do pickups from the facility. Later, he and Elisa review the plan, which involves using fake documents to access the lab by 5 a.m. Elisa will handle the cameras and transport the creature in a laundry cart. Meanwhile, Hofstetler prepares the poison to kill the creature, clearly unhappy about it. Elisa goes back to the staff locker room as everyone gets ready to leave but stays behind to move the camera at the loading dock. As she's doing that, Hofstetler makes a final plea to Strickland not to kill the amphibian man. While they argue, Hofstetler sees Elisa moving the cameras on the monitor. Realizing Strickland won't change his mind, Hofstetler decides to help her. Elisa prepares the laundry cart for the creature as Zelda waits by the elevators, but grows concerned when Elisa doesn't show up. Elisa goes to the lab, where Hofstetler is already waiting. She removes the amphibian man from the water, and Hofstetler approaches, giving her the keys to the chains. He explains what she needs to do to keep the creature comfortable and provides a special mixture to put in his water to keep him alive. He also tells her he'll disable the power, giving her 5 minutes, and then he'll meet her at the loading dock. While Elisa rolls the creature out of the lab, Giles drives over to the loading dock and Hofstetler goes to find the main power fuse. Giles arrives but is stopped by the MP at the gate while Hofstetler sets the timer on the gadget to cut the power. In a fast sequence of events, Elisa brings the creature out, and Zelda stops her while Strickland sees the van on the security camera from the gate, suspects something is wrong, and calls the MP. The MP points a gun at Giles, telling him to step out of the vehicle when suddenly the power goes out. Hofstetler hurries Elisa to get the creature to the loading dock, and Zelda finally decides to help. Hofstetler then kills the MP so Giles can have a clear path to Elisa. The four of them get the amphibian man into the van, and Giles drives off, leaving Zelda and Hofstetler behind. Giles crashes into Strickland's car because he's mesmerized by the creature's beauty, giving security enough time to catch up and start shooting. Fortunately, the escape van makes it out of the facility, leaving Strickland furious. Later, Elisa and Giles get the creature comfortably into her bathtub so he can start breathing again. They rejoice because their plan worked while Strickland investigates the chain of events that allowed the creature to escape. The following morning, Elisa plans how to return the amphibian man to the ocean. She decides to wait for the October rains, and release him into the canals, marking it on her calendar. Later, Elisa shares a touching moment with the creature, showing their growing bond. That night, they return to work pretending everything is business as usual. Strickland questions Elisa and Zelda, realizing that whoever planned the escape couldn't have been a simple member of the cleaning staff. He dismisses them. Meanwhile, Giles takes care of the amphibian man in his apartment. But when he falls asleep, the creature hears the TV and leaves the bathroom. The amphibian man encounters one of Giles's cats, hunts, and eats her, which Giles discovers. Giles yells at him, frightening the creature. It reacts by attacking Giles and running out of the building. Before Elisa and Zelda leave work, Hofstetler gives them another care package for the creature. Elisa tells him about her plan to release the creature and calls him a good man. Suddenly, she gets a phone call from Giles saying the creature has escaped. She rushes back to the apartments as quickly as she can. Elisa finds the amphibian man in the downstairs cinema, drawn there by the sounds of the films and puzzled by what he sees. They share a touching moment before returning to tend to Giles. The creature has learned that cats are off the menu and tries to make amends with Giles. He places his hand on Giles's head and his wound glowing magnificently, signifying that something magical is happening. Meanwhile, Strickland calls Hofstetler to his office, questioning him because he suspects his involvement. Elisa and the creature fall in love. One morning, Elisa accepts his advances and strips in the bathroom, suggesting they get intimate. The next night at work, Zelda notices Elisa's smile and figures out she spent the night with the amphibian man. Elisa explains, and Zelda is shocked. She warns Elisa never to trust a man, even if he seems flat down there. Hofstetler gets a visit from Soviet agents who think he killed the creature. He prepares to defend himself, but the agents leave, saying they'll contact him later. As time goes on, Elisa and the creature continue their affair. Elisa almost floods her bathroom, creating a mini aquarium. Giles catches them and stops the flood but doesn't judge. He starts to believe the creature is a god because it healed his wound and made his hair grow back. Hofstetler gets a call for his extraction. Elisa checks the docks as it starts raining and finds that the creature is sick from being out of the water. Strickland gets a visit from a general who pressures him to find the creature quickly or lose his job. Elisa realizes it's time to release the creature back into the ocean. During their meal, she expresses her love for him. She tells Zelda what's happening, and Zelda advises her to release the creature that night. Zelda tries to call Hofstetler for advice but misses him because he's already at the meeting place. Strickland, suspecting Hofstetler, follows him to the secret meeting place. Hofstetler is not being extracted. Instead, his comrades shoot him. Strickland kills them and tortures Hofstetler for information about the creature. Hofstetler reveals that the cleaning staff tricked him and released the creature. Strickland then goes to Zelda's house to question her. Zelda's husband tells him that Zelda won't give up her friend. Zelda warns Elisa and she and Giles head to the canals to say goodbye to the creature. Strickland finds out from Elisa's calendar where they are. He arrives just as the creature is about to jump in the water and shoots both the creature and Elisa. Giles fights Strickland, allowing the creature to heal itself. The amphibian man then kills Strickland and, with Zelda and Giles watching, takes Elisa and jumps into the water. In the water, the creature heals Elisa and helps her breathe through gills on her neck, which were not scars but part of her transformation. They live happily ever after. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.